My daughter-in-law raised her glass, her diamonds flashing under the lights, and her voice sliced through the music like a blade. $3,000 a month to scrub floors, Edna laughed, loud enough for everyone to hear. Classy, Dorothy. Laughter erupted around me, sharp and cruel, while my son stood there, silent, eyes on his drink. My throat tightened, my cheeks burned, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. But just as I turned to leave, a deep voice behind me said, "Excuse me, ma'am." And in that instant, the room froze, and so did she. So, before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you so much if you've already done it, and let me know in the comments which state or country you're watching from. So now, let's continue our story. I stood in front of the mirror in my tiny apartment, smoothing down the navy dress I'd worn to weddings years ago. It wasn't new, but it was the best I had. My fingers hesitated over the chipped zipper as a wave of doubt hit me. Why did I even agree to this? Because Boyd insisted. "Mom, it's just a family thing," he said on the phone. His voice rushed like I was just another item on his to-do list. Family thing, right? I stared at my reflection, trying to convince myself I belonged anywhere near a room full of people who lived a life I could barely imagine now. By the time I reached their house, I already felt small. The place glowed from the inside out. Marble floors, glittering chandeliers, music soft enough to sound expensive. I stepped through the front door and felt the warmth of bodies, laughter, and conversations that stopped just short of including me. I smiled anyway, gripping my old clutch so hard my knuckles turned white. Boyd appeared across the room, looking sharp in a black suit, tie perfect, hair slick like a magazine ad. For a second, my chest filled with pride, but then he waved at someone behind me, barely making eye contact. "Mom, you made it," he said, pressing a quick kiss to my cheek, before drifting away with a glass of something amber in his hand. Before I could follow, she appeared. Edna, blonde hair pinned perfectly, the sparkle of diamonds catching the light like she wanted everyone to see them. "Dorothy," she said sweetly, her eyes scanning my dress with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You look so classic." I swallowed hard. "Thank you, dear. The house looks beautiful." She laughed lightly, tilting her head. "Well, when you work hard for what you have, it shows, doesn't it?" Her words slid under my skin like a needle. I ignored it, stepping toward the buffet table, reaching for a tiny sandwich just to keep my hands busy. That's when her voice cut through the chatter like a blade. "Oh, don't mind her. She's just a maid now. $3,000 a month, can you believe it?" A ripple of laughter spread through the small group around her. My hand froze midair, sandwich untouched. Every sound in the room blurred except for that word, maid. My face burned, heat crawling up my neck as the laughter grew louder. I wanted to speak, to defend myself, but my throat closed up. My mind screamed, how could she? How could Boyd let her? I forced a smile that didn't belong to me, pretending I didn't care, pretending I was okay while inside something cracked wide open. "It's honest work," I managed to whisper, but the words tasted bitter. Edna smirked, her manicured hand brushing an invisible speck from her champagne glass. "Of course it is. We all do what we can, right?" More laughter. My chest tightened like someone had tied a rope around my ribs. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears as I stared at the crystal chandelier above me, thinking if I looked up long enough, I wouldn't cry in front of them. Not here. Not now. I wanted to leave, to melt into the floor and never come back. I gripped my clutch so hard I thought it would tear, my nails digging into the worn leather, and started to turn away when a deep voice rose behind me, calm but commanding. "Excuse me, ma'am." The laughter stopped. The room fell silent so fast I could hear the clink of a single ice cube in someone's glass. I turned slowly, and when my eyes met his, my breath caught in my throat. I turned, and for a second, I couldn't place his face. tall, confident, dressed in an immaculate suit that made everyone else look underdressed. His eyes were locked on me, warm, steady, like I wasn't some worn-out woman in an old dress, but someone worth noticing. "Ma'am," he said again, and the word carried weight, respect, the kind I hadn't felt in years. Conversations around us stuttered and died. I could feel every eye in that room on me. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. He smiled slightly, like he understood. "It's really you," he said. "Dorothy Crawford." My name rolled off his tongue like it belonged there. My mind scrambled. Who was this man? Why did his voice feel familiar? Before I could answer, Edna slipped beside me, her arm looping through mine like she owned me. Her laugh was sharp, nervous. "Oh, you know her?" He turned his head slowly, and when his eyes landed on her, her smile faltered. "Know her?" His voice deepened, calm but firm. "This woman is the reason I'm standing here today." A murmur rippled through the crowd. My pulse hammered in my ears. What was happening? Edna blinked fast, that polished confidence cracking. "I'm sorry?" He ignored her completely and stepped closer to me, lowering his voice so only I could hear. "You haven't changed," he said softly. "After all these years, I finally get to thank you in person." My stomach flipped. All these years? Thank me? My voice barely worked. He didn't let me finish. "Please excuse us for a moment," he said to Edna, who just stood there frozen, eyes darting between us like she was trying to decode a language she'd never heard before. Then he turned back to me, extending his arm like a gentleman. "Would you mind stepping outside for a quick word?" I wanted to refuse, to crawl out of that room and disappear, but something in his tone pulled me in. Before I knew it, I nodded. His hand was steady as I placed mine in his, and together we walked past the guests whose stares clung to us like vines. I kept my chin up, even though my knees felt weak. Behind me, I heard a hissed whisper, Edna's voice sharp like broken glass. "What the hell is going on?" We stepped onto the terrace, cold air brushing against my skin like a shock. My breath came in short bursts. "I'm sorry," I said quickly, words tumbling out. I don't remember." He chuckled softly, and the sound was rich, calm, nothing like the chaos in my chest. "Of course you don't. It's been nearly 15 years. His gaze held mine. "But I remember everything. The day you wrote that check, when no one else believed in me. Banks laughed in my face, friends turned away, but you—" His voice thickened slightly. "You saved my life, Dorothy. You saved my dream." My throat tightened. Memories crashed back like waves. The small office, the desperate young man with fire in his eyes, the way I handed him that check thinking it might never come back. I'd almost forgotten. Life since then had been nothing but loss, betrayal, survival. I whispered, "You're the one with the startup." He smiled wider. "The startup that became Titan Enterprises." My breath caught again. Titan, the name I'd seen in headlines attached to million-dollar deals and corporate success stories, and this man, the man whose hand I was holding, was its founder. Before I could process, the terrace door burst open. Edna stormed out, her heels clacking like gunshots. "Dorothy," she snapped, her voice dripping with forced sweetness, "your son's looking for you." Her eyes flicked to him, and the mask slipped just enough for me to see the panic underneath. "And you are?" He turned his head slowly, his smile polite but cold now. "Alexander Reed," he said, "CEO of Titan Enterprises, and you must be Edna." Her lips twitched. Yes, I am. Boyd's wife." He raised an eyebrow, his gaze slicing through her like a blade. "Interesting." Then he looked back at me, and his tone softened again. "I'll call you tomorrow. We have a lot to catch up on." He squeezed my hand gently, then walked away without another word, leaving the air heavy with tension. Edna stared after him, her face pale, her jaw clenched so tight I thought her teeth might crack. Then she spun on me, her voice a harsh whisper. "What did he mean by that? What the hell did you do?" My heart was still racing, but for the first time in years, it wasn't fear that filled me. It was something else, something sharp and quiet, curling deep inside me like a spark catching fire. I didn't answer her. I just walked past her, head high, gripping the railing so she wouldn't see my hands tremble. As I reached the door, my phone buzzed in my clutch. I pulled it out, and when I saw the name glowing on the screen, my breath stopped. Alexander Reed. I sat in the back of the cab on the way home, clutching my phone like it might disappear if I let go. His name still glowed on the screen, and my mind spun in circles. Alexander Reed. I remembered him now, the young man in a cheap suit who walked into my office 15 years ago with nothing but a dream and desperation in his eyes. I could still hear his voice trembling when he said, "Mrs. Crawford, I swear I'll pay you back, every cent, with interest. Just give me a chance." And I did. God help me. I wrote that check without thinking twice because I believed in him. I believed in a lot of people back then. I believed in family most of all. My son, Boyd, my only child, was everything to me after Robert died. Robert was gone in an instant. A heart attack on an ordinary Tuesday morning when life still felt safe. I was 47, suddenly a widow with a small business to run and a boy who still needed his father. I worked myself raw to keep everything afloat. The house, the business, Boyd's school. It all rested on my shoulders. I never complained. I told myself it was for him, always for him. And when he graduated, I thought, finally, this is what it was all for. The first crack appeared the day he brought her home. Edna. Blonde, sharp, polished in a way that screamed ambition. I wanted to like her, tried to like her, because that's what mothers do. But something in her eyes told me I was being measured, weighed, and found wanting. "Your house is cozy," she said that first night, glancing around like she'd stepped into a thrift store. I laughed it off, but deep inside, something twisted. When they married, I gave them everything. Not just love, money, $50,000 for their dream wedding because Boyd wanted to make her happy. I sold Robert's old truck, dipped into my savings, even borrowed against the business. "Don't worry, Mom," Boyd said when I hesitated. "We'll pay you back." I believed him. I always believed him. After the wedding came the house. Edna wanted something bigger, better, something that would impress her friends. Boyd came to me again, his voice low, almost embarrassed. "Mom, can you help us with the down payment? Just a loan. We'll sign papers if you want." Papers? I didn't need papers from my son. I handed over everything I had left, including the emergency fund Robert and I built over decades. And then the storm hit. Business slowed. Clients left. I tried to hold on, cutting corners, skipping meals so I could make payroll. But it wasn't enough. One afternoon, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at a foreclosure notice, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the paper. When I told Boyd, his voice was tight with irritation, not concern. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" he snapped. "We can't just throw money at this." I swallowed my pride and asked if I could stay with them for a while. His pause told me everything. "Of course, Mom," he said finally, but his tone was flat, and when I moved in, I knew why. Edna hated it. Every day was a new dig, a new comment about my old-fashioned habits, or how I should really think about downsizing permanently. One night, I overheard them in the kitchen. "She's draining us," Edna hissed. "We can't live like this, Boyd. We have our own lives." And then Boyd's voice, quieter, but just as sharp. "I know. I'll handle it." 2 weeks later, they sat me down. "Mom," Boyd started, avoiding my eyes. "Edna and I think it's time you found your own place." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. "I don't have anywhere else to go," I whispered. Edna smiled sweetly. "There are nice apartments downtown. And there are jobs. You're still healthy." My throat closed. Jobs, apartments. After everything I'd given them, everything I'd lost, they were throwing me out like old furniture. I packed my life into 2 suitcases and left without a word. That was 3 years ago. Now I clean other people's houses for $3,000 a month, scrubbing floors while my body aches and my pride rots. And yet tonight, standing on that terrace with Alexander, something shifted. For the first time in years, I felt seen, valued. But as the cab pulled up to my building, reality slammed back into me. This was still my life, a 1-bedroom apartment with peeling paint and a fridge that hummed louder than my thoughts. I paid the driver, climbed the narrow stairs, and unlocked the door. My phone buzzed again. Alexander's name lit the screen with a simple message. "Can we meet tomorrow? It's important." My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling. Part of me wanted to say yes, to grab this thread of hope before it slipped away. But another voice whispered, "Don't get your hopes up, Dorothy. Hope is dangerous." I sank onto the bed, staring at the glow of his name until the letters blurred. Finally, I typed 2 words and hit send. Yes. When? I barely slept that night. I kept replaying his words over and over. "You saved my life, Dorothy." No one had said anything like that to me in years. When my phone buzzed in the morning, I nearly dropped my coffee. It was him. Alexander Reed. "Can we meet today? It's important." My heart stuttered. Important? What could be so important after all this time? My first instinct was to ignore it. People don't just show up after 15 years out of kindness. There's always a reason. But then I thought about Edna's smirk, the way those guests laughed when she called me a maid. My fingers moved before my brain caught up. Yes. When? His reply was instant. Noon. Blue Orchid Cafe. That was one of those trendy spots downtown, the kind where a single salad costs more than my weekly groceries. I stared at the clock. 2 hours. What do you even wear to meet a man who now runs a company worth billions? I pulled out my old gray coat, the one with fraying cuffs, and smoothed it down like it would magically look new. By the time I walked into the cafe, my stomach was in knots. The place buzzed with quiet conversations and clinking cups, everything polished and perfect. And then I saw him. He stood as soon as he spotted me, smiling like we were old friends. "Dorothy," he said warmly, pulling out a chair for me. "You look exactly the same." I laughed softly, shaking my head. "You're kind, but God, Alexander, you've changed." "For the better, I hope," he grinned, sitting down. I folded my hands on the table to hide the trembling. "Why did you want to see me?" His expression softened. "Because I've owed you this meeting for 15 years. You're the reason I'm here today. If you hadn't believed in me, I'd still be some desperate kid begging banks for loans." I swallowed hard, memories flooding back. The day I wrote that check without even telling Robert's family because they would have called me crazy. "I didn't do much," I murmured. His eyes burned into mine. "You did everything. You gave me a future, and I hate that it's taken me this long to find you." I didn't know what to say. No one had spoken to me with that kind of gratitude in decades. My voice cracked. "I'm just glad you made it, Alex." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Made it?" "Dorothy, I didn't just make it. Titan Enterprises is global now. We've expanded into tech, real estate, finance, and every success traces back to that day in your office." I blinked, stunned. I had no idea. How could you? He smiled faintly. "I searched for you for years. Then at that party." His jaw tightened, the way they spoke to you, like you were nothing. Shame burned through me, hot and bitter. "They're family," I said weakly. "Family doesn't humiliate you in front of strangers." His tone was sharp now, anger flashing in his eyes. "Dorothy, I don't like meddling, but seeing that, I can't let it go." I looked down at my chipped nails, fighting tears. "What are you saying?" He took a slow breath, then said something that made my pulse roar in my ears. I want to make it right. I want to give you back what you deserve. My head snapped up. No, I blurted. Alexander, I can't take your money. I'm not a charity case. He chuckled softly, shaking his head. This isn't charity. This is business, a partnership. The word hung between us like a live wire. Partnership? Yes, he said firmly. I want you on Titan's board, not for the work. You've done enough work for 10 lifetimes. I want your name there because you were my first investor, my only investor when everyone else slammed the door in my face. I want people to know that. My mouth went dry. Alexander, I don't know anything about running a company. You don't need to. You just need to say yes. I'll handle the rest. His hand rested on mine, steady and warm. Dorothy, let me do this for you. I stared at him, my thoughts spinning so fast I couldn't breathe. For years, I'd lived in a world where I was invisible, disposable, and now here was a man telling me I mattered, that I always had. For the first time in a long time, a spark lit deep inside me, a dangerous, thrilling spark. I nodded slowly, my voice barely a whisper. What do I have to do? His smile widened, but his eyes stayed serious. Just one thing, he said softly. Be ready, because this is going to change everything. I stared at him, my mind spinning so fast I couldn't keep up. A partnership? I repeated, almost choking on the word. He nodded slowly, like this was the most natural thing in the world. Yes, Dorothy. You don't understand what you did for me back then. You took a chance when no one else would. I can never forget that. I swallowed hard, my voice breaking before I could steady it. Alexander, I'm just a maid now. I don't belong in your world. He leaned forward, his gaze steady and almost fierce. Don't you dare say that. You're the reason I even have a world to speak of. My throat burned as I whispered, I didn't do anything special. You believed in me when I had nothing, he cut in, his voice tight. And now I'm offering you what you deserve. A seat on my board, full benefits, a stake in my new venture. You'll never have to scrub another floor again. The words hit me like a punch. I sat there frozen, the clink of cups and soft chatter around us blurring into nothing. Alexander, I can't, I started, but the tears pricking my eyes betrayed me. Yes, you can, he said firmly, placing a folder on the table and sliding it toward me. Everything's here. Look it over. Ask me anything. I hesitated, staring at the elegant black folder like it might bite me. Why are you doing this? I whispered. Because I want people to know the truth, he said, that this company didn't start with investors in suits. It started with a woman named Dorothy Crawford who believed when no one else did. His voice softened. I want your name on that wall. My fingers brushed the folder, trembling so hard I had to curl them into fists. For years I'd been invisible, a shadow moving through other people's kitchens, cleaning their mess while carrying my own shame. And now this man was offering me a way back into the light. What would I even do? I asked, my voice cracking. I'm no businesswoman anymore. He smiled faintly. You don't have to do anything. This isn't about work. This is about respect, about recognition. And yes, he added with a hint of a grin, it comes with a healthy payout because, frankly, you earned it the day you wrote that check. My breath hitched. Alexander, I don't want a handout. Good, he said quickly, because this isn't one. It's an investment. In you, in the truth. All I need is your signature. I stared at the papers again, heart pounding so loud I thought people could hear it. My mind flashed through every moment of humiliation. Edna's laugh echoing through that room, the way Boyd avoided my eyes, the whispers behind my back. And then I thought of the years I spent on my knees scrubbing floors, hiding my hands so no one would see the cracks in my skin. Slowly, I picked up the pen. My voice shook as I asked, "Are you sure about this?" His hand brushed mine, steady and warm. More sure than I've ever been. I signed my name, the ink flowing across the page like a lifeline pulling me out of the darkness. When I looked up, his eyes were shining with something I hadn't seen in years: pride. For the first time since Robert died, I felt like someone believed in me again. He closed the folder and smiled. "Welcome back, Dorothy." My lips curved into a shaky smile, tears slipping free. "Thank you," I whispered. But even as relief washed over me, a thought crept in, sharp and dangerous. If Edna finds out about this, she'll choke on that smug little laugh of hers. Alexander reached for his coffee, casual as ever, and said, "Oh, by the way, your daughter-in-law works for me, and she has no idea who you really are." My breath caught mid-air. The pen nearly slipped from my hand. "She what?" He grinned slowly. "This is going to be interesting." The elevator ride felt endless. I stared at my reflection in the mirrored walls, hardly recognizing the woman looking back at me. A crisp cream blouse, a tailored blazer Alexander insisted on buying, and a pair of modest heels I hadn't worn in years. My hands gripped the leather folder so tightly that my knuckles ached. This wasn't just a meeting. This was my return to a world I thought I'd lost forever. When the doors opened to Titan's executive floor, I stepped out into a sea of glass walls and quiet power. Every head turned as I walked past. Some nodded politely, others whispered, and I wondered what stories Alexander had told about me. My heart pounded, but I kept my chin up. I wasn't the humiliated maid tonight. I was Madam Crawford, founding investor, though the title still felt like a dream I'd wake up from any second. "Dorothy," Alexander greeted me warmly, placing a steady hand on my shoulder. "Ready?" I forced a smile. "As I'll ever be." He led me into the boardroom, a sleek space with a long table and city lights sprawling beyond the windows. People were already seated, their polished faces turning as I entered. Respect flashed in their eyes, and for the first time in years, I felt it wash over me like sunlight on cold skin. "Everyone," Alexander said, his voice carrying authority, "I want to introduce someone very important. This is Dorothy Crawford, our founding investor." The applause that followed was polite but genuine. My throat tightened as I nodded, managing a quiet, "Thank you." And then the door opened. My stomach dropped. Edna walked in, confident as ever, her designer bag swinging on her arm. Her heels clicked across the floor like a drum roll of arrogance. She didn't see me at first. She was too busy flashing that corporate smile at the board, tossing her hair like she owned the place. "Sorry I'm late," she said smoothly, sliding into a chair without looking up. "Traffic was insane." Alexander didn't flinch. "No problem," he replied evenly. "We were just welcoming our newest partner." Her head snapped up. I saw the moment her eyes landed on me, and it was worth every tear I'd cried. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. "Dorothy?" she whispered, her voice cracking. I smiled calmly, my hands folded on the table like I belonged there, because now I did. "Hello, Edna." She blinked, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. "What? What are you doing here?" Alexander's voice cut through her stammering like a blade. "She's joining the board," he said. "As of today, Madam Crawford is officially one of the company's major stakeholders." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. Edna's perfectly painted smile collapsed. There must be some mistake," she sputtered, turning to me with eyes full of panic. You're a maid." I tilted my head, my voice smooth as silk. "Not anymore." The silence after that was delicious. She looked at Alexander, desperation flashing in her eyes. "You can't be serious," she hissed. "She's not qualified for—" "Edna!" Alexander interrupted sharply, his tone cold enough to freeze the room. "You'd do well to watch your words. Dorothy Crawford believed in this company before anyone else. Without her, Titan wouldn't exist. Show some respect." Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. I sat back, hiding the smile tugging at my mouth. For the first time in years, the balance of power shifted, and it was in my favor. As the meeting rolled on, I barely heard a word. All I could focus on was Edna's face, pale and tight, her hands gripping the edge of the table like she might snap it in half. I should have felt guilty, but I didn't, not even a little. When the meeting ended, she cornered me by the glass doors, her voice low and vicious. "What the hell is this, Dorothy? What game are you playing?" I leaned in close so only she could hear. "No game," I whispered. "Just business." Her eyes blazed, and for a moment I thought she might scream. Instead, she swallowed hard and forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You think this changes anything?" she spat softly. "You're still nothing." I stepped back, letting her words hang in the air like smoke. "We'll see," I said quietly. And as I walked away, heels clicking against the marble, I knew this was only the beginning. I knew she wouldn't let it go. Edna was too proud, too used to being the one in control. The next day, my phone buzzed with her name. I almost didn't answer, but something in me wanted to hear her choke on that fake sweetness. "Dorothy," she said when I picked up, her voice sugary and tight. "Can we meet? Please. I think there's been a misunderstanding." I almost laughed. "Misunderstanding?" I repeated slowly. "That's an interesting word for it." She inhaled sharply. "Look, I'm sorry for what I said at the party. It was out of line." Out of line. Not cruel, not humiliating, just out of line, like she'd spilled wine on a rug. "I'm very busy, Edna," I said flatly. "And so are you, I imagine. Titan's board meetings aren't easy to prepare for." Silence. I pictured her grinding her teeth so hard her jaw ached. "Dorothy, please," she whispered. "Can we just talk?" A part of me wanted to hang up, but another part, the part that remembered every smug laugh, every whisper about how I was a burden, wanted to see her squirm. "Fine," I said. 1 hour. Blue orchid. When she walked in, she looked flawless, as always. Designer suit, perfect hair, but her eyes told a different story. She sat down fast, leaning forward like someone trying to put out a fire. "Dorothy, I didn't mean any of it. I was showing off. I'm sorry. Truly." I sipped my coffee slowly. "That's nice to hear, but I think this isn't about the party anymore, is it?" Her eyes flickered. "What do you mean?" "You're worried," I said softly. "You think your little empire is shaking." Her mask cracked then, just for a second. "You don't know what you're talking about." I leaned in, my voice low. "I know everything, Edna. I know about the company funds you redirected, the expenses you hid, the deals you pushed through without approval. Titan's compliance team has been very busy." Her lips parted in a soundless gasp, color draining from her face. That's not true," she stammered. "Alexander would never—" "Alexander knows," I said calmly. "He showed me the reports this morning." She froze, her manicured nails digging into the table. "I can explain," she whispered, panic clawing at her voice. "It's not what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," I said, standing slowly, "and I don't think explaining will help you this time." Tears welled in her eyes, but I felt nothing. No pity, no regret, just the cold, clean satisfaction of justice sliding into place. "Please," she begged. "Dorothy, don't let him fire me. I'll do anything. Goodbye, Edna." I walked away without looking back. That afternoon, Titan issued an internal memo. Edna was terminated effective immediately for gross misconduct. By evening, the whispers spread like wildfire. Her name, once dripping with power, was now stained with disgrace. I sat in my apartment that night, a cup of tea warming my hands, and stared out the window as the city lights blinked like distant stars. I should have felt triumphant, and I did for a moment. But then a shadow crossed my mind, dark and heavy, because I knew this wasn't over. Not yet. And I was right, because when I opened my door the next morning, Boyd was standing there, his eyes red, his jaw tight. "Mom," he said, his voice shaking with something between anger and desperation. "What did you do?" He stood in my doorway, shoulders tense, eyes blazing with questions he wasn't ready to ask. "Mom," Boyd said again, voice low and rough, like the weight of the word might break him. "What did you do?" My grip on the door tightened, but I stepped aside, my voice calm. "Come in." He hesitated before walking past me, and for a second I saw the boy I raised, the one who used to run home from school with scraped knees and big dreams. Now he looked like a man cornered, desperate to save something slipping through his fingers. "So?" I asked, folding my arms as he turned to face me. "You gonna yell or talk?" His jaw flexed. "Edna got fired." "I heard," I said, letting the words settle heavy between us. His nostrils flared. "Don't play games with me, Mom. This was you. You humiliated her." A bitter laugh escaped before I could stop it. "Humiliated her? You mean the way she humiliated me in front of half the city? The way you stood there and let it happen?" His face flushed. God, Mom, that was a mistake. I should have said something, but this?" He threw his hands up. "You ruined her career." My voice sharpened. "No, Boyd. She ruined her own career. She stole from the company. She lied. I didn't force her to do that." He shook his head like a man drowning. "You could have stopped it. You could have told Alex." "Told him what?" I cut in, stepping closer. "To keep her? To protect her after everything she's done? Why would I do that, Boyd?" His lips parted, but no words came out. For a moment, the silence was deafening. Then he whispered, "Because you're my mother." That hit me like a slap, and for a second my breath caught. "Exactly," I said quietly. "I'm your mother, not hers. But you sure didn't act like my son when you tossed me out like trash." His head snapped up, eyes wide. "That's not fair." "Fair?" I laughed coldly. "Was it fair when you told me to find my own place? When you let her talk to me like I was some worthless burden? Do you have any idea what I've been through these last 3 years, Boyd? Any idea what it's like to scrub floors for people half my age just to survive?" His mouth opened, then closed again. Shame flickered across his face, and for a moment I saw the cracks in his pride. "I didn't know," he murmured finally. "No," I said softly. "You didn't want to know." He sank onto the couch like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. "I messed up," he whispered, hands gripping his knees. "I let her control everything. I thought I was doing the right thing, keeping her happy." I stared at him, my chest tight with something I couldn't name, anger, sadness, love buried under years of hurt. "Boyd," I said slowly, "I don't hate you. I hate what you let happen. But don't stand here asking me to fix her mess." His eyes lifted to mine, glassy with tears he refused to let fall. "I'm not," he said hoarsely. "I'm asking you to forgive me." The words cracked something deep inside me. I sank into the chair across from him, my voice trembling. "Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip, Boyd. It takes time and respect." He nodded quickly, almost like a child again. "I'll earn it," he said. "I swear, Mom, I'll make this right." I searched his face, looking for the boy I raised, the one who believed in honesty, in family, in doing better when you know better. For the first time in years, I saw a glimmer of him. Maybe it wasn't too late. But as he reached for my hand, one thought cut through the fragile calm like a knife. Edna wasn't done yet. I could see it in the way his jaw tensed when her name came up. And if I knew her at all, she was already planning her next move. The apartment was quiet, except for the soft hum of the city outside my window. Morning sunlight spilled across the table where I sat, sipping coffee from a mug that didn't belong to a maid anymore, but to a woman who finally owned her peace. In front of me lay papers from Titan, profit reports, updates on the new charity fund Alexander and I launched for struggling widows like me. My name was printed at the top in bold letters, Dorothy Crawford, board partner. Every time I saw it, something inside me healed a little more. I thought of the life I'd crawled through to get here, the nights I went to bed hungry, the days I scrubbed strangers' bathrooms while choking back tears, the humiliation of being laughed at in a room full of people who once called me family. And then, the power shift. The day I walked into that boardroom and saw Edna's face crumble. The day she fell from the throne she built on my back. I should have felt triumphant. In some ways I did, but triumph has a strange taste, sweet for a moment, then bitter if you linger too long. Because behind all the victory, there was still Boyd. He came by yesterday carrying groceries like the son I used to know, asking if I needed anything. I almost laughed. Where was that question when I was begging for a roof over my head? But when I looked at him, really looked, I didn't see the cold man who threw me out. I saw my boy, broken and ashamed, trying to stitch the pieces back together. We ate in silence for a while until he finally said, "Mom, I don't know how to fix this, but I want to try." And for the first time in years, I believed him. Not because of the words, but because of the way his voice cracked on that last word, try. So I told him, start by respecting me. That's all I ever wanted. He nodded like a man making a promise to himself, and maybe he was. I don't know if we'll ever be what we once were. Maybe that's gone forever. But now, at least, we're building something honest, brick by brick, with no lies holding it up. As for Edna, she vanished from the city weeks ago, her name a cautionary tale whispered in boardrooms she'll never step into again. Sometimes I wonder if she hates me, if she lies awake cursing my name. But that's her burden, not mine. I don't live for revenge anymore. I live for peace. And peace, I've learned, isn't loud or flashy. It's sitting at this table in a sunlit room, reading emails about a foundation that will help women like me find their footing when the world knocks them down. It's knowing that the girl who once walked out of her son's house with 2 suitcases is gone for good. I closed my laptop and stepped onto the balcony, breathing in the crisp morning air, watching the city move like a living thing below me. Somewhere down there, another woman is crying over a betrayal she never saw coming. I wish I could tell her this. You're stronger than you think. You're worth more than they made you believe. And one day, when the storm passes, you'll look back and realize you didn't just survive. You rose. I tightened the belt on my robe, feeling the quiet power of my own skin, and whispered into the wind, "Never again."